Alright, guys, welcome back. We are watching Made in Abyss, Season 2, Episode 9. Last time, we learned the origin of the village, I suppose. Yeah, as Waco said, it's not a very happy start, right? We also learned that Faputa wants to destroy the village and kill everyone, exterminate them, I believe was her exact phrase, right? And I am conflicted about how to feel about that, right? Because Voiko compared it to like Rico's desire to adventure, but I think there's a difference between wanting to adventure and wanting to kill a bunch of people. But like I don't know. It's certainly a subject to think about, right? Because it's Iramui's sacrifice that allows the village to exist in the first place, and if Fapata embodies that will, herself wanting to like end it, then that makes sense. I'm fine with that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Because I'm thinking, right? Obviously, we're gonna have to move forward beyond this village eventually. I guess that's the idea, right? Is Reg got the piece of Fapita, we can trade it for getting Nanachi back, and then just leave, right? I don't think that's going to happen now. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see. So we are watching episode 9 of season 2. You can line your own copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Right, right. Yeah, all these bugs swarming around her wound. You didn't have to rip off all that much. Yummy. I I guess she's fine with ripping off parts of her body. Sure, sure, yeah. Snipping off ends. No, it's fine. There's a bone in there, but nothing to worry about. God, I don't like looking at her wound at all. Like the way like the red thing is like poking out like that. Uh, you are. I, oh God. What is she? Like, what was that noise? I, she's zoned out. She can't answer. Oh, him. Big guy. Is that the same? I just can't tell if that is the same language that the villagers are speaking or not. Right? Like, it just seems different. Maybe not, though. Gabaroon. That's his name. Freshness. It loses value, I suppose. There he is. Okay, so can the piece of her enter? Right? I guess that's the first question, because she herself can't. Obviously, Reg doesn't know. Yeah, we gotta catch Reg up on everything Waco told us. Sure. Okay. He went in. Oh. Oh, God. Hi, the Fapita. Man, I just wonder, it's probably just like uncontrollable, like rage fills her when she sees the village and the villagers. Oh. Oh, she is the one who got the whistle. Okay, no, that makes sense, right? No, of course that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. That she's the one who grabbed the whistle. Um, Although I don't know, how did it get into the village then, right? Interesting. Because like, because the reason I think that makes sense is because like, of course, when Reg showed up on in the sixth layer, she was the one watching them, right? So she's like, oh, there's Reg, my beloved is finally back, and she wanted to go, check up on them. So she found Prushka, and I guess she has some kind of, I don't know. I guess she understands what white whistles are, talking about Prushka like a person instead of a whistle, right? Interesting. I guess there's still more to that, though. I don't know if that's really very clear, like what happened from there, right? Hmm. Ah, God, this opening is so sad now. Looking at Irumyuri like that. Man. Ah. It's the first time we've seen it since we learned, like, all of that stuff, right? Oh, that's the Cradle of Desire, right? Of course. The return of Faputa, right? It sure is. Oh. Blue girl, right? Of course she recognizes Waco, right? Oh. Oh, freaking out about a piece of Faputa, right? Yeah. Well, Wazikan told us to bring it here, so I assume he knew something like this was going to happen, right? He has the foresight, you know. Yeah. Oh, or Bailoff. I was gonna say because of like the value it represents. I don't know what would happen, you know. But Bailoff himself. Hmm. Yeah, your promise. Well, something about exterminating them, right? Oh, oh, him to be the one to do it. There's no way. Yeah, Sosu. Okay. How can he do that? Oh, oh, he just blasts a hole in the wall? Yeah, the incinerator? Rewrite. Oh, he was okay, no, that's big, right? Stop biting him, please. It's the God, she is scary. Okay. God, what she just said about him looking for Haku is very, you know. I guess she kind of said something like that before, right? But okay, okay. Oh, the prince, huh? I don't know if that is a literal title, if he's just kind of being, you know. Oh, right, right. Yeah. He doesn't seem too upset about her being free, right? Are you? Is this all going to plan? I suppose, right? I can imagine it. Centered the story on herself, did you? I guess, of course you would think that. I don't really hate him. Yeah, yeah, I don't think Wazikion is like a terrible person, you know. Although, I mean, what he did to Voiko, I don't know about that, right? Ah, but even then. They didn't really understand the Abyss, but of course their goal, yeah, they never thought they were going to go back anyway, right? Whether or not there was a literal thing preventing it. Oh. Mm-hmm. Right, right. Only so many were willing to, you know, pursue their desire that strongly. Yeah. Oh. Interesting. Like the warm darkness. And everyone down here is like that, right? Sure, sure. Hmm. Yeah, but this still represents, yeah, the end of your journey, right? Yeah, yeah. Voiko said something like that, right? Meeting the end of your journey once you found your desire. It's an interesting idea. Okay. Sure, sure. Isn't a bad thing. Oh, interesting. Right, right. Yeah. He would have rather found the Golden City than have created it here, right? Sure, sure. It's just, it like forced them to, in a way. Interesting. Hmm. Oh, 150 years, huh? Interesting. That's a bit, huh, okay, okay. So they still want to continue forth, right? Of course. The same as the other villagers, you know? Right. Oh god, we're really, man. Maybe. It's just sure. If you say so. Literally. Something like that happened before. What is she referring to? Interesting. Hmm. But... yeah, right? Well, I mean, that's what the village already is, right? These kids will. Oh. Heard that line before, huh? Interesting. Oh. First time I've heard her talk. Oh god. Yeah, we've kind of just... the village has just been freaking out in the background this entire time, and we've just been ignoring it. Oh, God, what was his name again? This guy. the new sage that plays Fuego. Why does he see this piece of Foppertail as something he has to, like, protect the village from, maybe? Droimo, yeah. Well, maybe. Right, right. Makes sense. Oh, no. What is Wazikyan doing? Oh, God. Maybe I was too, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I was expecting, too much from Wazikyan. He always has a plan, huh? So the peace has lured out Jorimo. It's kind of thrown the village into chaos. But what is Wazikyan's plan from here, right? Like, he obviously foresaw this, you know? But what does this accomplish? Oh, yeah. It's starting, I suppose. Oh, quick to give in to despair. I suppose. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. I does it. Oh. God. Oh, that's so... huh. That's very interesting. I don't know what to think about that exactly. Yeah. He takes the form of a guardian. And Iramiri formed it from her thoughts. Ah, God, I don't like that. What is happening to him? It is the will of the village. God, how awful. I guess that's not good. I don't like that at all. Oh. It's great. Awesome. All going as he wanted, I suppose. It evolved. Awesome. I I agree. I agree, Reg. Thank you. It can spit the balancing stuff. Sure, sure. Should we just give it the piece of Faputa? Is that the goal? What happens if it gets the piece of Faputa, you know? Is that what Wazikon wants? Because it seems like it has the potential to kind of, like, destroy the entire system of the village in a way, you know? Because, yeah, because it's, like, infinite value. I don't know if that would happen. Sure, sure. Oh, okay, okay. Interesting. I wonder if that means Boikyo herself would, of course, be immune to the balancing as well, you know? Interesting idea. Oh, sure, yeah. She's always so soft-spoken. True. That's not good. Yeah, how do you dodge that? I gotta go through one of the holes. I don't know. Oh, nice. Okay, okay. Yeah, I guess, right? I mean... Oh, God. Why are they attacking them? I guess just trying to cover the village, right? Yeah, yeah. Oh. What happens if it gets it? Yeah, okay. What happens now? Ooh. I mean, it's not like destroying them, right? Like it did with like Ma. Oh, yeah. Sure, true, yeah. That the village itself, it's not a bad place now, but if Iramiri herself, once it destroyed, once herself destroyed, essentially. I, hmm. Oh, you can, yeah, you can use the incinerator. Yeah, yeah. But should you? I mean, it's such a decision that he's just been thrown into. Is this what Wazukyan wanted? Probably, right? Yeah, yeah. Oh fuck. Okay, okay. The destruction of the village so that they can escape and continue on, right? Oh, God, we haven't had an incinerator shot all season. Man. Okay. Oh, that's just like season one. Well, he got him, I guess. Oh no. Is it just open now? It must be, right? The incinerator goes through everything. I got the piece back. Sure, yeah, yeah. Forced into that position. Which, maybe that was the goal. Oh god, I mean, is Fabio just gonna show up and start killing people? Like, what? I mean, we... Right, right. We saw how she reacted when she was born, right? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because I mean, Reg is just gonna be knocked out. So, like, he can't. You know, if they don't want Fakuta to kill everyone, they can't. You know, not really an option to like stop her. I'm just worried about Rico. Yeah. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Then what's up, Fakuta? Oh, it's the day of judgment is here. Oh, it's like they're all cheering, right? Because she's the, yeah, yeah. She's the embodiment of value, right? Ah, God. Oh. Big guy. Gabaroon. We know his name now. Oh, her voice. Her destiny has arrived. Yeah, yeah. How disrespectful, right? Right, yeah. Oh, look at their faces. Hmm. Ah, but what a... was born... Yeah, born for that purpose. Is that really... Oh, no time to prepare yourself. Okay. And they all cheer. Awesome, awesome. Ah. Right, because Gabarin said something about, like, not being able to stop her too, you know? Oh. Right, of course they wouldn't attack her. Obviously, right? Ah. Oh, God. She, like, freed them, I suppose? Oh, she's healed. They healed her. Yeah, yeah. I... God. Time to face your judgment, I suppose. Ah, is it really fair, though? Is it really fair, you know? For either party. Oh, God. It's, okay. The slaughter begins, I suppose. It's not like any of them could, like, fight her off, right? Like, I don't know. They're all just here to die. Ooh. What's up, Nanachi? Singing, yeah. Oh, MIDI. Is that Bailoff? Sounds like it. Oh. Interesting. Probably, like, through her connection to the village, maybe? Because she's, like, part of it now? Oh, yeah. Their treasure? Yes, I knew it. I knew it. Wanted to keep on gazing. Yeah, it's like what you're doing right now, right? Beautiful. Oh, the village. Yeah. Time to awake. Interesting. Does he think of himself? Yeah. Has having been like dreaming, right? That the oh wow, okay. Beautiful. Oh, sure. Um, that the village has all been a dream, essentially, right? Think about how they said Iruburu. Um, part of the word Iruburu meant like cradle, right? A place for people to like sleep, a place for people to like dream, you know? That's what it has been this whole time. The time to awake. God, what a crazy ending, huh? Hmm. God, and the visuals fit the song so well. God, I love the music in this anime so much. Huh. Okay, what an episode. What an ending to the episode. Ah, MIDI. All that you gather, that is an interesting. interesting title. Makes me think of like Prushka and Rico's conversation in the movie, right? About like all the things that Rico has like, all these like coalescing things that have like formed her desire to like continue on, all that she's gathered, I suppose. Anyway, we will talk about the episode in the discussion. Okay, let's talk about the episode. So that ending, huh? That was man. They keep doing really cool things like this, huh? Like at the end of the last episode, like tied in so well, like with can I speak with what Voiko said at the end of the last episode, tied in so perfectly with like the lyrics of the ending. And this time we get this crazy, yeah, Baloff singing like this, and it leads in perfectly into the ending. And these are the same ending visuals, right? They just like match perfectly with both songs. Maybe they're different visuals. I guess it's kind of hard to remember because it's so like there's such like vague shapes. But I feel like the visuals like worked perfectly with this song as well. I want to listen to this song again. Someone to tell me what this one's called because that was God so good. I really like what Baloff says here, and I think Baloff has a very um I guess maybe not a unique perspective on all of this, but maybe so, considering, he was the first one, who wanted to be consumed by Iramui, and he was the first one to enter this form. And so him equating the village itself and all of this to being a dream, right? To the fact that they need to wake up, right? Is very interesting. I think it makes sense that Baloff at least would view it that way, considering like he himself seems so tortured by everything that happened before and all of this, right? And it's like the form he is in now represents essentially like him being overcome by like that hunger and that kind of thing that led him to being in such like a tormented state. So him viewing it all as being like a dream, him having to wake up. Starting now, it is no longer a dream. Maybe that's a little bit different than what I've been saying. Actually, the idea of it being no longer a dream, that everything has been a dream up until this moment, and now it's like real, right? That perhaps Faputa like arriving as like like judgment, right? That's what it seems like. She went on the long speech there about how she's here to enact judgment. I guess that's essentially what Baloff wants, right? That's what he wanted in the first place. He wanted Iramui to consume him to take his body, because of how he felt about the reality of their situation, eating her children to survive, and how he couldn't bring himself to not do it, essentially, right? I mean, I guess he was being fed by Voiko, but it was the idea that it was irresistible to him, right? That perhaps, I mean, because the food itself. I mean, it's her children were the food, represented like survival in a way, right? So I guess I imagine it's like Baloff, his recognition that in order to be alive, it requires him to trample on, Iramui's dreams in this horrible way, right? Um, Eat her children, like do this horrible thing, right? It's the realization of that, but nonetheless, like survival is still irresistible, essentially, right? That's why they all did the things they did. That's why Wazukyan, enacted this whole situation, essentially, right? So for Baloff, like, yeah, it's all been a dream until this moment, essentially. And now that Fapita is here to kill them all, it's like judgment has arrived. Which I think for all of them, for all of the characters beyond just Baloff, I think it makes sense, right? Because the village has always represented like this dream-like like society in a way, the way that it's so everyone has this body in place with their desires. um the value system, which is just this, the value system is basically impossible outside of a system like this, right? There's no way for it to be like enforced in any way that makes any sense other than this crazy, like, oh, it reads your soul, the signals, and all that stuff, right? Um, so equating it to a dream makes a lot of sense, right? We're saying that it's now no longer a dream, right? You are waking up, right? You have to face reality, I suppose. So let's go through the episode. Fapita is itchy because she ripped off a part of her body. I guess I like it. I like her ripping off a part of her body because it shows how far she's willing to go for this, right? I think something I imagine we might be going to here, because I think back to like what Voiko said. It was Voiko, right? Said about Fapita, about the idea of her herself like being able to move beyond this one day, right? Have her own adventure. I think that's what she said, right? Um And it shows how right now Fapita is so consumed, so controlled by this purpose that she was like born with, right? That in a way it's like she's trapped by it, you know. That she sat down here on the sixth layer, sitting around doing nothing for hundreds of years, waiting for Reg, waiting for, you know, who knows what, right? Just been doing nothing, not having a life, that's for sure. Because one day she has to destroy the village and free them, right? And I guess and she's willing to go so far to like it you know, rip off parts of her body. I think that shows how like this purpose that she was born with, this thing that she, you know, has to do, I suppose, that she feels this uncontrollable drive to push forward and that to be her purpose in life, right? How it's still like something that hurts her. It's something that is harming her, right? She's rips off part of her body in pursuit of it, you know. Um, which again is very interesting because that isn't really something we've thought about that much in the show before, right? All of the desires, every character has a very specific desire, right? There's a very specific thing that is their purpose for like being in the abyss. There's their purpose for, you know, beyond just the abyss for like, you know, pushing forward like in life in general, right? That's kind of what the abyss is, you know. And all of their goals haven't been like self-destructive things in that way, beyond the fact that of course the abyss is dangerous, but the idea behind that is obviously, you know, chasing your desires, chasing your dreams in the first place is like there are dangers that come alongside that, right? It's kind of like the balance between those things, I suppose, you know. But for Fakuta, I guess what we're bringing up here is the idea that this dream, this desire she has, is something that you can imagine to be self-destructive in a way, right? That it's like it has this control over her that feels like it has almost like trapped her, you know? She seems to me just like a very tragic character in a way, right? Like I think back to her conversation with Reg the first time. Um, she seems very lonely. She seems very just you know, her entire life is consumed by like hatred, you know, very different than the dreams and desires of the other characters we've seen. And like Voiko brought up, it leads you to think like one day will she be able to have more beyond this, right? Will she be able to you know, what will she do if this gets achieved, right? Because we bring that up in this episode too, with what they're talking about later about the idea of the Golden City itself essentially just being a stopping point for all of these characters' dreams to continue forth into the abyss, right? What it makes me think of, essentially, like I guess the theme behind it in my mind is the idea that your dream and your desire that pushes you forward in life is secondary to the idea of like being pushed forward in life in general, right? That it's like once you have achieved your dream, Voiko said something very similar to this a few episodes ago at the end, right? Or was it at the start? I think when she was talking about Nanachi and Midi, right? About the idea of once you have achieved your dream, once you have met, you know, whatever it is you want, your treasure, the gold, whatever. We have a bunch of names for it now, right? Um, your journey ends, right? And I don't think your journey ending is like ever really a good thing, right? Not with the context of the story here, right? Um, because once your journey ends, like the kind of the poster child for that idea that we've seen in this season is Nanachi, right? And all she's doing is sitting there staring at Midi and doing nothing, right? That's not really a good thing, right? So the idea is that like Nanachi needs something to push her forward more than just sitting here forever with Midi. Fakuta needs something more than just like this destruction of the village, right? She needs something to actually push her forward in life and continue, you know, continue on her journey, right? Um, Very interesting, and that leads into question this whole idea of the Golden City in the first place. How the Golden City, Ganja's whole goal this whole time was to reach the Golden City, right? This magical place that will be like free and like fair in a way that their homelands that you know they were forsaken by weren't, right? Um, it makes you think would Wazukyan ever be happy with a golden city if he found the golden city? Um, is the golden city even possible? I guess that's the question, right? Is Wazukyan's goal is like which can very much be equated to like almost everyone's goal in the whole story in this sense, right? Um, is Wazukyan's goal? Is there even an end that is achievable, right? And is that even a problem if there isn't, right? Because obviously in this episode, it's very explicitly pointed out that Wazukyan, this isn't the end point for him, right? This isn't the end point for anybody, right? Or at the very least, it is an endpoint in a way because they're trapped here. But it isn't them achieving their goal and then just being happy forever, right? I don't know if that's possible, right? You kind of always need a goal, you always need a desire, you always need something to like drive you forward as you live your life, right? Or in this story, continue into the abyss, So I don't know. It's really something to think about how even something as utopian of a goal as the Golden City, which in some way, in and of itself, represents like a perfect society and all of these things that you would think would be like the ultimate thing to aspire towards. If it's even possible to be satisfied with that, knowing that then, your journey is over and that your dream has been like fulfilled, right? I don't know. It's really God. It's honestly a very. I feel like it's a complicated thing to like think about, right? Like, huh? Fabita's immortal though. She can snip off her ends, so I guess it's fine. This looks so uncomfortable. This like the red thing sticking out of her forehead. I don't like looking at that at all. That looks so like gross. Man, the way it's like, it looks so like raw and like nasty. I don't want to look at it. God, I love Fapta. She's like she's some variety of creature, I suppose. She really is something. But Gabaroon, we know his name. I don't think she ever said it before, right? Gabaroon. We know his name now. That's cool. That's cool. I wonder if she named him. Probably. Sounds like a Faputa name, Padding is precious, but freshness is important. And she loves to say Sosu, that's for sure. I hadn't really noticed her saying Sosu over and over again until this episode. Was she saying it all the time before, and I was just, like, tuning it out? I guess. But Sosu, I suppose. So Reg returns with the piece of Faputa, which it's so... I don't know what to think about it. It represents infinite value. Which, of course, now that makes more sense than ever, knowing the truth of the village. Of course, Faputa represents infinite value, because it is the thing that Irumyuui herself values more than anything, right? It is her desire and her value, is Faputa. It's her Haku, I guess you could say, right? So it's infinite value, so I wonder it seems like it's not even going to happen now. But I was wondering what would happen if Reg actually tried to trade it for Nanachi. Like, what would happen if this was introduced into this value system? I thought that was going to be, like, Wazukyon's goal. That somehow this was going to, like, break the entire system of value and do all this crazy shit. But at this point, I think Wazukyon, like, foresaw all of this. He wants the village to be destroyed to, like, free them, right? So he can continue on his journey in some sense, Obviously, the problem with that is, like, Faputa's gonna kill everyone. So, like, oh, maybe that makes sense, though, right? Because Wazukyon as a character feels like he's kind of defined by, his attitude towards, like, sacrifice, right? I like the connection between him and Bondrewd in a way, because I think they are similar characters. But it's in the sense of Wazukyon understands necessary sacrifice, like with Irumyuui, right? I guess you can't really call it necessary. I mean, who decides what's necessary? I guess that's kind of the question, right? Because yes, they all would have died if they hadn't, if Wazukyon hadn't done what he did to Irumyuui, right? But does that mean it's acceptable for him to have done that to her? Like, probably not. It's terrible, But I mean, that's the thing to think about, So in this case, it's like if the sacrifice this time is everyone in the village is going to die, but he himself, survives, gets to continue on his mission. Maybe a few other people do, right? Maybe Vueko, who knows? They get to continue on, keep pursuing the Golden City, right? That's a much harder that's a harder pill to swallow, right? To accept that the sacrifice of all these villagers is necessary just so they can continue on, right? Different than like sacrifice being necessary for like survival, But I think I can imagine Wazukyon having that kind of outlook on it, right? Obviously, in my mind, that kind of paints Wazukyon as much more of like a villainous character in a way, than I was thinking of him as before, right? Because again, you can make an excuse for his actions for like what he did for Irumyuui, because like they're all going to die, right? Of course, I mean, again, it's like the question is, can you do anything in the name of, oh, I don't want to die? Like, probably not, right? Like, if I started starving to death, can I go kill and eat someone? Like, No, right? So that's kind of the question, right? It's that, when is sacrifice? I mean, when is forcing sacrifice upon someone for the greater good like acceptable? God, I don't know, right? Because I don't want to say what he did to Irumyuui was in any way acceptable, but you understand why he did it, right? God, Fabita's face, huh? I just feel like she must be overcome by such strong emotions whenever she sees the village. Whenever she's here and she looks at it, it's just like this. Oh, God, I don't know. I don't know. I really wonder for Faputa. Um, she's like talked about how like this, or I guess other characters kind of, maybe not Faputa herself. But they've talked about how it's like Iramui's will essentially like lives on within her. That in some ways, like she was crafted with that in her heart in some way. But I just wonder how true that is. Like how true it is that there's this desire to destroy the village purely comes from Irumyuui versus, it being something that Faputa herself like feels, right? I guess the question would be what's the difference? I don't know. I don't know, right? Because again, it's like the question at that point is in some way it feels like Faputa would be trapped by it. That it's like this duty that she has to fulfill whether she likes it or not. I guess either way, the emotions that she's feeling would be real. And of course, you would understand her wanting to destroy the village after what they did to her mother, right? I mean, that is her mother, right? But in Faputa, yeah, sees the whistle. You look very nice now. So Faputa was the one who took the whistle, in like episode 2 or whatever, episode 1, whatever that was, right? Um, which makes sense, I guess, right? Yeah, she was the one who went and checked up on Reg, Enrico, and everyone when they first got to the 6th layer, right? Makes sense. So I guess she grabbed the whistle and what? How did it get into the city from there? I don't know. I don't know. Because she can't go in, right? If she throw it in there, it's a maybe, right? The return. God, Royko with the blue girl looking at her. Come on, talk to each other. It's been a while. I don't know what her name is. Do we know her name? I feel like they've said it before. Because this is the girl who, like, in episode 1, like, was yelling at Royko about someone being sick or something, right? When they're on the boat. I believe so, right? So yeah, the balancing freaks out about Faputa being here, which makes sense. Again, it's like obviously when Wazukyan suggested that they go get a piece of Faputa, this is all part of his plan, right? He knew a bunch of crazy shit was going to happen because of his weird gift of prophecy, foresight, whatever, right? So of course, I guess, and I don't know how specific it is, right? I guess that's always the question of Wazukyan is like, how specific is his ability to see the future? Because then didn't Voiko kind of wonder about that herself too, right? When she saw Wazukyan's face, right? Him having the face of a divinely possessed prophet or whatever. Like, how specific is it? Did he foresee all of this exactly? He knew all of this would happen. It would lead Reg to having to shoot a hole in the wall, lead Fapita inside. Like, I guess, right? Just that's such a crazy ability to have. And yeah, Voiko brings up that Baloth could withstand this piece of Fapita, and I'm sure, oh god, I don't want to know. I don't want to know how he would react, right? Because it's obviously so closely linked to all the stuff with the soup with Iramu's children, because Fapta is one of Iramu's children, right? So God, I don't know. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like I really wonder what would happen if Fapta's arm was introduced like the balancing. Because we've seen how it like breaks stuff down into like the money, right? How would that work with infinite value? you know? Hmm. And Reg thinks about the promise to destroy the village. So it's very interesting. It must be such like an internal conflict for Reg because he himself promised this to her before, right? And like, yes, he's like different now. He's a different person now, right? His memories being different essentially has made him a different person than before in a lot of ways, right? But that was still him who promised this, right? So that's like, man, that's really something to think about, right? That Reg now is so like unsure, right? He's so unsure of what decision to make and what to do. He apologizes to Rico about, he was so conflicted about whether or not to shoot the wall. But yet he himself in the past, before he lost his memories, had already promised to do this for Faputa, right? So she had already convinced them enough before that he thought it was a good idea, right? He was willing to do it. Yeah, make it so Faputa can go inside Mother. He can rewrite. We've heard that before, right? Like rewriting the rules of the Netherworld, the way it was able to destroy Midi, the way it's able to, yeah, destroy the wall and let her inside. And yeah, you said you couldn't use it. You said you couldn't use because leaving to search for Haku. So this is very interesting. We haven't really like thought about this, right? He couldn't use it because he was leaving to search for Haku, right? So again, in my mind, his Haku in this case is Riko, right? It must be, right? He was going up to get Riko, right? We know he was sent by Liza up, right? Or at least he was with Liza for a while, right? From his flashbacks in like season 1. His specific goal must have been to get Riko, who was already his Haku somehow, despite him not having met her yet, as far as we know. Except there is weird shit with that, because Faputa called him Reg, even though, as he pointed out, Reg is the name that Riko gave him before. Riko named him after her dog, right? I don't know what to think about all of that at all. What I do know is that this is very interesting because he couldn't use his incinerator, right? So what is that? That really makes you think, of course, that he must have. We've talked about like the charges of his incinerator, how it's limited, right? He must have used the last charge of his incinerator in episode 1, season 1, to save Riko from the Crimson Splitjaw, right? And then that's what must have made him pass out, lose all his memories, everything like that, right? Um, so that's what happens. That must be what happens when he runs out of charges, right? As he loses his memories, it resets everything, right? Um, so that's very interesting. I almost said something really stupid. I almost said, I wonder if that's an explanation for why, uh, for all the weird shit with like his name and like knowing Riko from before. But like that would be from his perspective. Like from his perspective, if he knew Riko before somehow and like forgot about it, right? When he lost his memories, that would make sense. But obviously, that wouldn't make any sense from Riko's perspective because Riko never lost her memories, right? Like she would have known if she had met Reg before, right? Um, so I don't know. Very, very interesting. It shows how important Riko had to have been to Reg even before, that he was willing to shoot his incinerator to save her, knowing that it would destroy him as a person, essentially, right? Erase his memories and make him someone new, basically, right? I mean, I guess, of course, there's an argument to be had whether or not you are your memories or not, I suppose, right? Obviously, from Reg's perspective now, he is essentially a new person compared to who he was before, right? But, next time you see Faputa, we'll take Faputa with you. Are we taking Faputa with us? That'd be cool, I guess. I feel like we got a lot of stuff to do before we're gonna be taking Faputa with us, though, right? That's gonna be, we got a lot of loose ends to tie up to. Take Faputa to where they are. Or maybe she's talking about the village, right? I don't know. Yeah, to Mother, I suppose, right? I guess. And she starts eating him, of course. Yeah, so talk about all this. Yes, getting a hole in the wall so Faputa could come destroy it. Did Riko like fill Reg in somewhat on kind of all the backstory about all this? Maybe. I don't know. Well, here's Wazikyan. You were the prince all along, huh? I wonder if that line means anything, or if he's just kind of saying that just as like like because of his connection to Faputa, he's just kind of like making a joke in a way, right? Calling him the prince because she's the princess. Or if that like means something, right? I wonder. Hmm. Seems the village been thrown into chaos by this value that shouldn't exist. Right. And he sees Voiko. He kind of like he acts like chill at first, but he grabs her and stuff. So I don't know. I still don't know what to think about Wazikyan and like what his plan here is and what he's doing. And he asks Riko if she hates him now. And I guess I just kind of agree. I don't really know him. in the sense of, like, I don't really know what to think about him, you know? I don't really hate him. I don't really think Wazikyan's evil in any sense, right? Um, Unlike Bondrewd. It's interesting how I have such a strong opinion of Bondrewd, and I feel this, like, uncontrollable hatred for him, right? Whereas, like, Wazikyan has done something so similar, right? I guess it's just Bondrewd's attitude about this kind of thing is so infuriating and awful, whereas Wazikyan is, like, less so, right? Like, Wazikyan, at least what he did to Irumyuui was truly to make it so everyone doesn't die, right? What Bondrewd was doing was very much so, like, for him, and he used this justification of, oh, it's for the greater good and all of this, right? Even though in pursuit of the greater good, he was killing all of these children, right? And of course, Wazikyan only killed one child, Bondrewd killed a bunch, right? Like, there's kind of a, there's a power scaling difference here between their child killing feats, right? Hmm. There are lots of others like me here, even more than when I was in Orth. Absolutely, right? Everyone in the village are people who wanted to go down into the abyss, right? She asks Wazukyan, "Did you descend this far even knowing you're going past the point of no return?" Which is an interesting question, because not really in the sense of they knew about the curse, right? They didn't know that the curse would make it impossible to go back up, right? Like they had those people go inside the pod and test it, right? And that's when they found out they're stuck, right? Um, but it is true in the sense of they knew that they were embarking on a journey of no return, right? They had no intention of ever leaving the abyss, right? Um, which makes sense, right? It kind of takes like these literal in-universe functions the abyss has of like the curse, right? And like it shows you how they're meant to be applied to like otherwise just like goals and desires and longing in general, right? Because even these characters who didn't know like literally that the abyss would prevent them from going back up, right? They went down fully well knowing that they weren't going to come back up, right? It kind of it kind of takes the analogy like back a step in a way, you know what I mean? That was the kind of trip we were on. Yeah, yeah. He heard from the Sovereign of Dawn, Mr. Dawn, Dawn-san, maybe. He said that even among you cave raiders who make a living in this giant pit, there's only a handful of humans who'll descend to a depth that's impossible to return from. Right, and that it's your last dive. It's this representation of you willing to commit yourself fully to whatever it is you desire, right? Make the dive completely. Yeah, yeah. One who, while searching for their own gold, discovered that the place where the darkness lies is even more splendid. What an interesting thing to say, right? And this kind of goes back to what I was saying, right? That it's like while in pursuit of, your gold, your treasure, your desire, whatever you want to call it, right? Rico looking for a mom, Reg wanting to find out who he is, Nanachi looking for Midi. She's got a little bit to go on that still. You discovered that the place where the darkness lies is even more splendid. It's like you discover that the journey itself, the darkness, I guess, the struggles that you experience as you pursue that gold is the more valuable thing in the first place, right? That is what is meaningful, you know? Makes you think like the warm darkness that Voiko talks about with Irumyuui, you know? One whose home was found only the continuation of their quest, and who could only choose to push forward. Exactly, right? That you have to keep going forward, right? It makes me think so much about that conversation between Prushka and Rico, right? Um, in the movie when they were talking about like Rico's desire to keep pushing forward. And how it's like it's this whole accumulation of things, and how Rico said it, she feels like almost like wishy-washy about it, that she doesn't even know why she's doing it anymore, right? And like the conclusion that they reached at that sentence in that conversation was that when she finds Liza, that would just be the beginning, right? That's not the end, right? Which is such an important distinction, right? Compared to like the Golden City, Iruburu here, right? I mean, it's not really the Golden City, right? It's a an attempt at the Golden City, I suppose. For all of these characters, just represents the end, right? It's just for them, it's like they haven't had that same. They don't have the ability to continue on past it, right? So it's not meaningful in a way, right? It's like reaching their goal. Yeah, it's a sanctuary for such types who have nowhere left to go. It's a dead end, right? It's a place for people who couldn't continue pursuing their dream, you know? It's true I found heaps of value after meeting my fate here. But my days of challenging the great pitch are now my unfulfillable longing. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting, like going back to Nanachi, it's interesting because she's so trapped by like Midi and her feelings about all of that, right? Wanting to stay with her. But it's like we know that Nanachi herself also finds so much meaning in just, exploring the abyss, continuing on this journey, right? Like again in the movie, when Nanachi was going on about how fun it actually is, right, to keep going into the abyss, and how it like hurt in a way, because of what had to happen to be pursuing it. Hmm. No matter what you had to sacrifice or trample, you wanted your wish to come true. Exactly, right? Yeah. This village, the creation of this homeland for those with nowhere to go. I don't believe that was truly your wish. Yeah, yeah. The Death Six Layer is just the entrance if you want the Golden City. And the Golden City does represent this unending quest, right? Because the Golden City is like impossible in my mind, right? It can't be real. But that maybe that doesn't mean that there's no point in pursuing it, right? Same with like the bottom of the abyss, right? Who knows if there really is a bottom of the abyss? But I'm sure the concept of there not being one would be something that Rico would just be excited by. You know what I mean? Hmm. Wazikion also very, very important thing, perhaps. He says 150-ish years since the village was created. So that gives us a good idea of the time dilation, like, kinda, just in the sense of we know that the modern discovery of the abyss happened 2,000 years ago, or 1,900 years ago, right? Um, and so at the very least, and it seemed like when Ganja arrived at the island, that was before like this modern discovery of the abyss, right? It seemed like the abyss was so different too. So if the idea of these 2,000 years passing and new layers being forming, if that's accurate, then we know it had to have been at least 2,000 years ago that they found it in terms of like surface time, right? The problem is it could have been like any multiple of 2,000 years, right? Um, Although I guess I settled on the idea of the third layer having been the first layer back then. So then that would mean it was 3,900 years ago. Um, so then it would have been 3,900 years. Surface time is 150 years down here in the sixth layer, right? Uh, but I could just be wrong about that, and it could have been that was 1,900 years ago, and then very shortly after, or 2,000 years ago, or whatever, right? And very shortly after, the modern discovery of the abyss happened with Orth and all of that, right? So it doesn't really give us an exact number on like what the time dilation is like on the sixth layer. But it's a lot. It's more than like 10 times, right? At the very least, time has to pass like 15 times faster, right? Um, which again, like, means that 2,000 years gotta be coming right up, right? They didn't give us an exact number on when this next 2,000 years like is, right, or when we're gonna hit that marker. Because they just said it was discovered 1,900 years ago. That could have been 1,950 for all we know, right? In which case, that might only give us, like, I don't know, 6 months down on the sixth layer before that 2,000 years happens, right? And Bondrewd certainly seem to want to prepare for when that 2,000-year mark hits, right? So I don't know. I mean, obviously, that's where the story's leading us. At some point, that's going to happen. What's going to happen to the Abyss when that 2,000 years hits? I don't know. It's coming right up, though. That's what that line tells me. Hmm. So Rico, I think Rico really figures out Wazikyan's plan. Which maybe it makes sense because it's like we have drawn these connections between Rico and Bondrewd in a way too. Like this, they are similar characters in a way, right? Obviously they're different, right? But maybe it makes sense that Wazikyan and Rico can kind of be on the same wavelength too. That she's kind of similar to him as well, right? And maybe in that sense, that's how she's so easily able to figure out like his thought process here, right? I still don't really understand what she's getting at exactly. That Wazikyan wanted Rico to use the Cradles of Desire to make them all go adventuring again. I don't really understand the implication of that. Wazikyan doesn't really admit that it's true, does he? Um, how do you one of those guys who does everything he can? I mean, he says it's impressive. He says that's great, but it's Wazukyan. So, like, who knows, right? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. A big burden to make her bear. Obviously, the idea of having someone else bear that burden is something Wazi-Khan is well acquainted with, right? Yeah. I'm not the one who'll choose. These kids will. I don't like this logic, because of course he can say the same thing about Irumyuui, right? That it's Irumyuui who just chose this, right? And we know that Irumyuui is not happy with it because of Faputa, right? Choice can only be made by the challengers. And unfortunately, our conversation is interrupted by Joraimo appearing, who is apparently formed by Vueko's like thoughts and feelings about the horrible guy who abused her, which I don't know what to think about that at all. That's like just terrible. Like I don't know. It's really horrible and sad. Um, that he like it just has to be so horrible from her point of view, right? That because we know he is such a presence in her mind still, that she's so tormented by him still, even after all this time. That's like the horrible thing, that he's so strong. He's such a strong presence in her mind that he's like formed and is created by the village, right? I don't know. I don't know what to think about it other than it just being terrible, right? It's just showing that like this horrible trauma that she's had hasn't left her even after 150 years, of course, you know. I don't know. Awful, right? Hmm. Wazi-Khan grabbed her because she's quick to give in to despair. Like he thought she was gonna throw herself off a cliff again. I guess. It's, I don't know. Rough, I guess. Huh. Even you made him from signals she received from you. Yeah. Uh, hmm. Appeared and said he was one of the three sages. Yeah. He's the guardian. I just don't know what to think about that at all. I don't know. I don't really want to think about it. It really like is upsetting, you know. Hmm. Like the idea of him being connected to her still after all this time, you know, that she can't be free of him because she was so tormented by her thoughts of him in the first episode, you know. It's just so dark. So yeah, I mean, this is all like stuff that Wazi-Khan foresaw in some way, right? It must be. Just Joraimo wants to attack Reg with the piece of Faputa. He really wants the piece of Faputa, right? Because I guess you could say in a way it represents a great danger to the village, right? Hmm. Yeah, balancing won't affect him. In that sense, of course, the balancing won't affect Fuego either, which is an interesting thing to think about. But Reg gets cornered, and he ends up having no choice but to shoot the incinerator and let Faputa in. Which is, God, quite the decision he's forced to make, right? He really has this conflict over it, you know. Hmm. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think either. I have no idea. I don't know. I really don't know. It's interesting what he thinks here, that he doesn't have the power to change things all on his own. He always has this doubt of his own actions and of himself, you know. Um, hmm, I don't know. But he shoots it, he breaks the wall, in comes Faputa, and she is ready. It is time for the fulfillment of her purpose, I suppose, right? Such a, like, the reason why that's such a dark way to think about, like, her existence, too, is like Irumyuui was essentially, like, forced to be just this existence that just had this purpose for other things to, like, survive, right? Um, like her agency was taken away from her in a way, right? Like she wasn't able to, you know, fulfill her own dreams or have her own wish or anything, you know, other than this horrible way that it was fulfilled, you know. Like she didn't understand what was going to happen, right? um so in a sense it's like Faputa, is she being led down that same path, right? That it's like she has this purpose being forced upon her. It's something that she believes that she wants and she desires, but what's actually going to happen through her fulfilling it, you know? What will actually happen to her if she achieves what she wants and she destroys the village and she does all of this, you know? Will it end up like it did for Irumyuui, where it's not, you know, what she thinks she desires and what she wants isn't actually, you know, a good outcome for her, right? I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, Reg's gonna pass out. We gotta protect Rico, because yeah, Fabita's gonna be here and destroy everything. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. Man, and there she is, here to enact judgment. God. And they're all so it's like they're all so excited to see her. They're all so happy, you know? It's the embodiment of value. It's Fatpita. Ah, God. In the presence of the princess. And it's interesting how Gabaroon said to Reg how he can't stop Fatpita either, right? So it's interesting how he almost puts himself on that side too, this idea of like, you know, it's not like what she wants is perhaps like a goal that he shares with her, right? I think he's worried about her essentially, right? Fapata will not forgive. You glared at us with hungry eyes. Fapata will not forgive those eyes. Your mouths speak in the same tongue my mother did and spit out prayer. Fapata will not forgive those mouths. You continually desecrated my mother to selfishly save your own skins. Fapata will not forgive your very lives for which you've continued to live for so long. Your joy, your sorrow, your activities. Faputar will not let any of that continue, because it's all on the back of Irumyuui, right? Faputar will never forgive your existence until you turn to worthless dust. Just such righteous anger, right? Faputar was born so that all this would not be forgotten. You know not how Faputar has longed for this day, this moment. Yeah, it's like this for her is the end of her journey as well, right? You'll be given no time to prepare yourselves. You will be eradicated. And they all cheer. Man. And of course, they aren't going to attack her, right? They're, you know, she's here. She's here to free them, right? Yeah. They heal her. And now it begins. She doesn't look happy, right? Certainly isn't happy. It's like such a somber like fulfillment of her duty almost, right? Like look at her face here even, you know? Like man, and here we are. Belaf singing. So Nanachi has like these memories, right? It's very interesting. I wanted to say it's because of like her connection to the village, right? Her being part of the village now because she is so you know, connected to it, being part of it, you know, having been like sold, right? Um but that can't be the case because like all these other people, everyone in the village other than like Rico, right? All of the hollows, their bodies have been like subsumed by the village in a way. They're all part of the village. They all can't leave, just like her. And they don't all have memories like this, right? So I wonder why Nanachi has them, right? What were we searching for again? What a good question, right? What were they searching for, right? It's like what they were searching for wasn't even the important thing, you know? I thought they really resembled us, even though they didn't look like us at all. Yeah. Iramu and Voiko. After that, they finally found it. And what happened? Their treasure. I wanted to just keep on gazing. Even if it was a dream, that's fine with me. And Baloff says it's no longer a dream, right? Time to awake has come. It is no longer a dream, not just for Nanachi, but for all of them, right? For the village at large, right? It's no longer a dream. I don't know what to think about that, right? About all of that Nanachi thought about this. I'm just not sure. It feels like her thoughts on it aren't really like fully fleshed out, right? I don't really think she herself knows what to think, right? It's not like she reached some conclusion about what to do about like Midi, you know, about what to do about her own feelings, you know. Because if you think about it, Voiko is in a similar like stasis in a way, right? In terms of like her connection to Irumyuui and not wanting to give up on it, right? She's kind of been sitting doing the same thing that Nanachi has been doing with Midi throughout the season, right? So I don't know. I guess I'm curious to see what conclusion that will lead us to. And that is the end. What an episode. What an episode. Man, this whole season has just been crazy, hasn't it? Like every episode is just so good. I think this is my favorite arc of the story so far. It's such a perfect continuation of all these themes and stuff we've been talking about, right? I really like it. It's so it feels so like it's such a clearly defined arc in a way, and I think that the story really is doing good with like that structure compared to before, where everything just kind of felt like it was building and building, and it was all a continuation of what came before. This is that in a way, but it's so like it's like a self-contained arc. It feels like, you know, and I think the story and like the themes really benefit from that, right? But yeah, I guess that is it. That was episode 9 of Made in Abyss Season 2. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.